You know how I feel about women entrepreneurs. I believe women can change the world. Heck, we are changing the world. But what would you think or say when I said that there's another woman out there that is on a mission to help 1 million, that's 1 million women, generate $1 million in revenue by the year 2025? My guest today has set out to do just that. Welcome to Business with Purpose. I'm your host, Molly Stillman of Still Being Molly, and this show is all about bringing you the stories behind the brands, companies, and small businesses that are changing the world. Each week, I interview an entrepreneur, CEO, nonprofit director, community leader, or just an incredible person who's trying to make a positive impact, not only through their personal life, but also with their career. My goal is to show you that no matter what you do for a living, you can make an impact wherever you are. My guest this week is Kisha Mays, a successful entrepreneur, a visionary global business development strategist, a best-selling author, inspirational speaker, powerhouse producer, and so much more. Her primary focus is on helping to develop more successful, multi-million-dollar global female-owned businesses through her company, Just Fearless. She always pays it forward by supporting nonprofits worldwide that specifically support and empower women and girls. I was incredibly grateful to Kisha for coming on the show and being so transparent, open, and vulnerable. We talk about really good things and really hard things in life and situations that women might find themselves in. There are a few things that we discuss in this episode that may not be appropriate for young ears, so I just wanted to give you a heads up. But I promise that you will be encouraged by all the incredible work that Kisha is doing. So now, on to my conversation with Kisha. Kisha, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Molly, for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I have just, ever since I was introduced to you, I've done the light to moderate internet stalking that I sometimes I call it.
Okay.
And I am just blown away by the way you use your platform to impact so many women and just the way your story is impacting literally thousands of people, if not millions. So I would love for you to give us the Kisha 101. So tell us who you are and how you got started and what you do. And, for those that aren't familiar with your work, tell us all about it.
Okay. So, oh my God, where do I start? No, my company's called Just Fearless, and Just Fearless started as an international business development firm. My company's actually headquartered in Hong Kong with teams in Hong Kong, Dubai, and also in the U.S. And I started that as a way of wanting to work with women and helping them to empower and to build and to grow, businesses, build wealth and the like. And it's just evolved over time to, working not only just in business development, but branding and marketing and, just a bunch of other entities that are subsidiaries of my main company. And I think what's interesting is that I, typical story, grew up in a single parent household, in urban ghettos, if you will. And just really, I've known since I was in maybe high school that I wanted to work for myself. I've never held jobs for very long I take that back. The longest job I ever had was at Continental Airlines before they became United. And that's only because of the flight benefits. That was the saving grace for me. Had it not been for that, I'd probably been fired a long time ago. I was never good at taking orders from people. So that was it. It was the flight benefits that kept me there. But I liked being my own boss. I liked calling the shots. I liked the freedom of time. I mean, I think, people think about when you start your own business, there's a saying that says you work 80 hours a week for yourself to avoid working 40 hours a week for somebody else. That's really how I feel, to make sure that I am not having to answer. And then I can also create impact. I can do things. I can create change. I can use the money that I've, built and grown with my business to invest in other women-owned companies through my angel fund. I can use the money that I've built to, invest in community and give back and do things that probably would not have been possible with just a regular, salary, if you will. So I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying for me, I can do more when I'm in control of how I make my money and, where it goes. And it's just been on a journey. At this point, 11 years at this point, we're in the making. And I am thankful for the opportunity that, just to come from nothing to something and be on a mission now to help 1 million women entrepreneurs generate a minimum of 1 million annual revenue by December 31st, 2025. Because I know we're in and I'm not going political, I'm just saying in general, we are in a very chaotic time right now, and just globally, domestically, nationally. And I think some people were saying, you should resist. And I'm more like, no, I want to help women do something because I can see the impact that's going to come. If I help 1 million women make a million in revenue, that's $1 trillion to the global economy. That will have far greater impact than any protest or anything I could ever do, in what's going on. So in a nutshell, I think I just kind of just ran right through it, but I don't want to like talk your ear off too much. I'm gonna give you a chance to speak. It's your show. So I hope
No,
that gives
you
you a
are
gist.
amazing. Please talk away, because there's just like, I was taking notes and I was like, I can't type fast enough. There's so many amazing things. Okay, there is a lot I want to unpack here. But I
Okay.
want to go back just a little bit, because there is a part of your story that I know that that is really going to connect with a lot of people. And I love your honesty and transparency in sharing about like the challenges of growing up in a single parent household, and like you said, kind of just in like a, in an urban community where there were a lot of messages given to you over the years, where like I know in other areas you've shared how like there are those messages when you grow up in a situation like that, where you hear kind of a narrative over and over again
Yes.
of like, you're not going to make it. You're not going to be enough. Like you're never going to amount to anything. Whereas we know that's not true. But what would you say is the greatest maybe catalyst for you personally in your story in walking out a counter narrative to what you had been told for so many years?
I think just honestly a deep-seated belief in myself, and then my grandmother. My mother taught me to be independent, but she was very like military. Worked multiple jobs. Went to school at night trying to get her degree. So I didn't. You could almost raise myself, but she taught me to be independent. My grandmother taught me what it meant to have your own money. She was always had her own beauty salon. Always. She took care of a lot of people, but she always was in control of her life and her schedule, and that kind of impacted me indirectly and directly, because it wasn't like she just, set me down and just taught me this. It was just watching her. But if you ask me what stuck with me in terms of that scenario of somebody telling you you can't do it, I will tell you that when I was in high school and I grew up in Houston, and I went to Kerr High School, which is an A-Leaf ISD in Houston, Texas, and I graduated high school a year early. I did that because I wanted to get out, from under my mother's thumb, and I wanted to, have freedom or whatever. I'm always about freedom, right? So I did that to
Yeah.
graduate early, and because at the time Texas offered $1,000 scholarship if you finish high school in 36 months or less. So I was just like, I can do this. I can go to summer school. I'm gonna knock this out, and I did it. What was interesting to me, and this has stuck with me, even Molly, with all the success I've had, the money I've made, this has stuck with me. I think you'll hear this from other people who are successful as well. I had a guidance counselor in high school. Her name was Charlotte Gutner. I'll never forget her name. If she's listening, whatever. But I never forgot the point that I was like, I would, for a second, let me get an A student. There's some classes I struggled with, like algebra and chemistry, that just, my mind was just like, I'm good in math when it comes to economics, accounting, and finance. But when you throw in numbers and, X plus Y equals Z, my mind just did not function. It would not recognize it. So I struggled in those classes. And I remember I graduated maybe at a 3.4, 3.5, which is like a B average maybe, right? It's still a good average. And I remember her telling me that I did not have the grades or, the ability to get into the University of Houston. Now, mind you, we're not talking about Rice University. We're not talking about Stanford or any of those other Ivy League places. We're talking about just a public college, University of Houston. And I remember her telling, and it stuck with me. And I was just like, I got a 3.5. I got great grades, great community service. I don't see why. And because of that, I never applied to University of Houston. Now, it's always interesting to think, well, maybe my life had turned out differently had I not listened to her or not taken to heed what was being put into me. I'm grateful for the path and the journey that I took, because it guided a lot of the things that happened to me. I mean, I didn't finish college. I did go to UT in San Antonio, but I never finished. I dropped out. And, it's, you look at those things and like, that could stop people. That has stopped some kids in their footsteps where they might have been the next great thing in whatever industry, but you got some people who are in the education system, whether it's that system or even at home or with family, it could be either or both, that could really impact. So when you talk about that, that stuck with me for years. And I'm 38. I turned 38 this year. Never forgot her. Never forgot that. And I'm like, I almost wish that there was some way to send a video to her. Like, I made the things you said I'd never do. I did it 10 times, a million times over. And I bet you're nowhere near where I'm at. It sounds petty, but it really does affect you. It does stick with you. And you always remember it.
Oh, I could not agree more. I mean, I definitely have those educators and coaches who told me I wasn't good at something. Or, I mean, I always remember, so I played golf growing up. I realize it's like the like very, very exciting things, but it's the sport that my parents, like my dad was a golf teacher. So he was like, I'm going to teach you golf. And so I played golf growing up, and but it's obviously extremely male dominated sport. There are not many women that play it. And I was just as good, if not better, than a lot of the guys when I was in high school. And I did not make the varsity team my freshman or sophomore year of high school because my coach was like, he was a sexist, and he told me that he didn't want a girl on his team. And I let that really get to me for a while, and let that narrative of like, you're a girl, you can't hang with the guys kind of thing get to me. And I remember like just wanting to prove myself over and over again. But then I had an English teacher who I had for both 10th grade and 12th grade, who was like the first person, like really adult in school who did believe in me and told me that I was a good writer and all those things, and finally like was beginning to speak some truth into my life. So like I completely understand what you're saying when those words, like words matter and they stick with
really
you.
do.
And it's such a reminder to like, now that I have young kids, and I'm only a couple years younger than you, but you know, in adulthood, like I think about the kids that I interact with on a daily basis, even if it's not my own, but kids I interact with maybe at church or friends' children, just kids in the community. I always make sure to just put affirming words in their lives, because you never know if that's the only place they're hearing it.
That part, Molly, like that to me was just kind of like, luckily I had other influences, you know, whether it's other teachers or, you know, like my grandmother, a big influence. And like, you know, you can do anything you want to do. Like, you are capable, you are resourceful. Had I not heard that, I mean, I said, because of her, I didn't apply to the University of Houston.
Yeah.
Because of her, there are things I didn't do, but it's like, you know, my life didn't turn out too bad, but there are other people who believed in me. And then more importantly, I believed in myself even when others didn't. And that's the big thing for me, that there are going to be times where, you know, maybe it's not just an educator, maybe it's also family. I've had friends who encountered relatives who, you know, doubted them. And you know, my mother's big on, you know, getting a degree and getting that, you know, paper behind your name. And it's like, that wasn't my path. And I knew that at a young age. Like, I'm not supposed to go to college and just get a job like that. I just knew. But at the same time, you're dealing with her telling you go to college, get a degree. You don't really want to. At that time, they didn't have the entrepreneurship programs they have now. So it was just like, you're going to school to get a business administration degree. I don't want a regular job. What college prepares you for is a career or a job and teaches you theory about that, not actual world life practice. I knew I wanted to own a business, just didn't know how it was going to come to pass. But as you said, I mean, it's planting seeds in people. Like, this is the part of why I do what I do, why I want to work with women. I know the impact it will have, not just on these women and these young girls, but as they become mothers and grandmothers, it changes generations. It will change communities, families, cities, countries. I see the bigger picture.
Absolutely. And I love that you talk about the impact that your grandmother had on you, because that,
Yes.
you know, I didn't really grow up with a relationship with any of my grandparents. I mean, some of my grandparents had passed on, and some of my grandparents I just didn't have a relationship with. And so I, even in my 30s now, I long for a relationship with, you know, a woman, of a seasoned woman. Let's just put it that way. You know,
Yes.
My mom is not living anymore. And so like, I think about the fact that like, in every season of life, whether you're a young child, whether you're a teenager, you're a young adult into adulthood, and even as you get more seasoned in life, like we all need those people who are just a step ahead of us, a generation ahead of us, to speak life into us and to be able to mentor us and guide us, because man, that is like, I don't know your faith background, but as a Christian, like I just know that like God created us to be in community, and we're not meant to do life alone. And I believe He strategically puts people in our path to guide us and to impact us. And so sometimes like I forget, though, along the way that maybe I'm that person for somebody else. And so I love the way that you have taken your story. And I love what you said earlier, where you said, like, you realize that, like, through your business, you can create impact, you can create change, you can use money to invest in other women-owned companies and businesses.
Exactly.
That is so powerful. At what point, so you dropped out of college. What was your first steps after dropping out of college in creating, like, what was sort of the path you took from dropping out of college to launching your business?
Okay, so that was a few years of working, odd jobs here and there, and then eventually I got on with Continental Airlines, and I ended up moving. I started in Houston at Bush Airport in Houston with them, and I transferred to Newark Airport, and so I ended up moving to New York City, not having any family or friends there. I was in my early 20s, maybe 21, 22. I knew no one, and I had never been to New York before. And I just remember moving there because they had that saying, if you could make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And I'd been wanting to come to New York, just that something was drawing me there. So I would just, these odd end jobs led me to Continental. I got trained. It was the first opportunity I could once I got off probation, because, most airlines have like a 6-month probation period. Once I got off, I immediately put in a transfer to Newark Airport. I got it. And then I got to Newark Airport. Mind you, at that time, this is like maybe early 2000, 2002, something. It's early 2000s, right? So at that time, I am making $11 an hour, working at the admin office in the cargo building from Continental Airlines in Newark Airport. I realized when I moved there, I could not afford an apartment on my own, because it's very different as compared to down south, because there you got to have first month, last month's rent, all that stuff. And I'm like, there's no way I have that. I only $11 an hour. So I ended up learning how to rent a room, going into New York on the weekends on my time off, or when I wasn't traveling on my days off. I love to travel. So I would take off on my days off and just travel to new cities, new countries, and come back before I had to be at work. And so I would put myself out there, because I'm actually quite introverted. So I have to step out of my comfort zone to meet new people, experience new things, so that I knew that if I could get into New York, I could get into some sort of network. And at that time, I thought that I wanted to be in the music industry as a songwriter. So I would, working my way in, trying to get an internship at a label or something like that, and just trying to network, basically. So what it did is it forced you out of a comfort zone. Where Houston was that comfort zone, New York was like this whole new era of a complete stranger in a city of millions of people. And it was my training ground. I went through some of my roughest times in life and some of my best times in life in New York City. And that kind of like started the very first process of me building my first company, which was not Just Fearless, a different company that I started. And just starting that first company, working to hold events where I was fundraising for different charities at the same time. So I could, get my name out there and build partnerships. And that was like that first couple of links into like, okay, I'm getting my feet wet. And now we're talking 2006, 2007, where I'm like getting my feet wet, doing different events and meeting people and connecting, traveling. And it started from there. And then it just, from that point forward, it's like, I cannot work for anybody else. I don't like having to ask permission to go out to do things. I like to be able to take off and say, I'm going to go here and do this. Or I want to do this event for this charity and so forth. So I hope that answers it. But it started like that. And then once I got into New York, that was it. It just took off from there.
I'm taking a quick break from my chat with Kisha to share with you something I am so excited about, and that is the launch of the fall collection with Seiko Designs. This collection is literally incredible. If you are not familiar with Seiko Designs is a socially conscious fashion brand that is working to empower women and girls in Uganda and around the globe. This fall collection is so beautiful. You will be inspired by the richness of the season's colors like pebbled amore and oiled olive. Let the fall collection not only be a celebration of travel, but also a celebration of the journey within. My favorite pieces are the multi-way shawl in Leo, the How It's Made Matters tee, and the caftan in Chianti. These pieces are going to be on repeat this entire season for me. Oh, and not to mention the multi-way tunic sweater in black that can be literally worn 5 different ways. You know that versatility is my love language. Now, to shop this incredible fall collection, go to seikodesigns.com/Molly Stillman. That's SSEKO designs.com/Molly Stillman. Now, back to my chat with Kisha. So I really am curious, at what point along the way, was it a light bulb moment, or was it just kind of a gradual shift in your thinking, or maybe like a realization when you really started to think about the impact you wanted to have on other people? Specifically, I love that you've really kind of like funneled in on other women entrepreneurs. And I want you to just really talk about this mission of impacting. This is incredible. 1 million women to generate $1 million in revenue by 2025. And oh my gosh, like at what point did you realize like the impact that you could have? And then when did you really realize that this was the goal that you wanted to set out for yourself? Like go big or go home.
Yes. So this goes back to New York, and I actually wrote about it in a book that I have called From Failure to Fearless. And when I was in New York, once I left Continental, I'd been there almost 4 years, and I got fired. So once I got fired, it was just like, okay, well, there's no going back to that. What do I do now? And I'm in New York, and I'm, again, networking, meeting people, going to different events, and I'm just seeing different things that I had not experienced. And, this is daytime. So, I still got to pay bills, still got to, got to eat, right? So I was working at a body rub space, and I don't know if you know what body rub is, but it was a thing in New York where I was a phone girl. So basically I was the person, I had a really great phone voice. And so I was the person that would book appointments for these girls, and they would, do body rubs, not sex, but actual just body rubs, with them. I don't know how I can say that, but I don't know. And this is like a PG-13 podcast because I want to say it's a happy ending that was done by hand, and that was it, right? So I'll leave it at that. And I'm going somewhere with this. Trust me. So working here with these ladies and just seeing this other walk of life, that was my nighttime, thing, and then daytime I'm doing internships, I'm doing events and volunteering where I can, trying to network. So I had the daytime persona, very corporate, very business, and the nighttime persona, I'm around these girls who come from all walks of life. Some of them I got to learn some of their stories, what got them into that field, into that industry. At that time, that's when Craigslist had the adult pages, and Backpage was up and running before they shut it down. And it was just these girls, they come from you hear the stories, you see things they went through, and you're like, it's hard to tell a girl who's, been through so much in life, and now she finds something where she's making $1,000 a night, or, whatever, and maybe $1,000 a week, depending on how often they work. And then, this is what feeds them. This is what feeds their family, or if they have kids, and, if they got a drug addiction, it feeds that too. And just seeing that. And so being around these girls, like, what if I could do something? Even the lady that I worked for, who ran the business, and she had like three apartments in New York that she operated from, and she made some mistakes along the way, but I learned from her, running her business, what to do and what not to do. Even though hers was illegal, still, it was a very visible lesson for me. And then doing that, and then doing the events that I started doing to build partnerships in New York, showed me that, there are a lot of women who can do great things, but may not know what resources are available to them or how to do it. They might have an idea or a vision for something, and they just don't know how to bring it to pass or how to maneuver. And it's like, I can do something about that. And again, it was just for me. And it's like, all right, so I'm going to go with it. I'm going to start doing events. I'm going to start doing empowerment events for women. I started that first one in 2007. That went well. I partnered with Dress for Success for credibility. And then I had Vanessa Williams. She's on that show. Ugly Betty was really popular at that time. Her whole cast came out. Like, it was a really amazing event. 2008, did another amazing event. Phenomenal success, and just, it was really amazing. 2009, again, as I'm doing this, my mindset is I just really want to work with women. I want to help them grow and build based on my experiences in New York that I'd had, since I've been working at Continental, and even after I got fired, working with these girls in the nightlife and seeing what they go through, what they do just to make their money and do what they have to do. So I have a whole appreciation for girls who are, whether they're strippers, whether they are porn stars. I've met them all, and I have encountered them all, and doing these events was just like, I want to help them, but I do something I can show them better than I can tell them, right? And so I, doing the events, and then 2009, I decided I want to do a conference. And again, as I'm building, just the vision of seeing what people are going through and then having ideas of how I could change it, and just having to take steps. Like, I wasn't taught this in terms of how to do this. It was just me, just like jumping out there and putting myself out there. If I fall, I fall big. And I did in 2009. One of my biggest failures to date, so not even one of the biggest failures I'd ever encountered publicly, where I put together, they say you should, crawl before you walk. I decided to go from crawling into start running and totally skip the whole walking process. And I had planned this 3-day conference. I went too big, too fast. 3-day conference at this really nice hotel that just opened. I had, booked Susie Orman and Jillian Michaels. Jillian Michaels is on Biggest Loser at the time, which was really popular then. Susie Orman, she had her show. She endorsed by Oprah. Both of them huge. I had booked them both for a conference, and just, they were promoting my event for me even before they got fully paid, right? And I ended up having to cancel 3 days before the conference would get to start. And it was bad, Molly. It was so bad. Why did I have to cancel? There were things that were beyond my control and things that were in my control that did not go right. Beyond my control, I learned the importance of getting contracts, not just taking somebody's word for it via email or, saying they're going to do something and they didn't do it. And that means people that are supposed to sponsor didn't come through, and just really just having to learn what it meant to take full responsibility for something. And in that moment, it showed me that, it gave me a testimony, if you will, a testimony of what could happen when you fail big, when you got some of the biggest celebrities on earth calling you out on social media because they put was it a scam? Was she just, was she not for real? It hurt, and it hurt bad. I almost went bankrupt behind it. It showed me who was really in my corner and who wasn't. It showed me that, okay, you've hit rock bottom in this instance, but you can get back up and build again. And I managed to redo it, that same event on a much smaller scale, 2009 in November, with Wendy Williams, Elizabeth Hasselbeck, and local speakers on a half-day event local. And then, 2010, expand beyond that. And long story short, just to kind of give you an idea, that whole journey from 2007 to 2011, we went international to Sydney, Australia. That whole journey, those few years, was I was seeing the impact, not just getting them the money for the charities that I was working with, but just talking to women, encountering them, and just hearing them say, thank you, for doing this, because it showed me a way to make money. It showed me a way to, to do something I've always dreamed of. And so as I'm building my business and evolving into other things beyond events and conferences, I'm like, how can I do this? How can I scale this? As I'm building, how can I scale this? I scaled my company, took it into other countries. And then this vision of 1 million women was started around 2016, around our election period in the US. And it was quite chaotic, and it was a lot of drama. And I was like, I don't want to be in that space of anger and resistance. I don't operate well like that. So how can I change this so that if our future generations don't have to endure what we're enduring right now? And that's where that kind of that underlying thing came from, of 1 million women, $1 million in revenue. If I can get 1 million women to that, I can change the world. I can impact the world. Not just talking about politics, but just in supporting charities, supporting women-owned companies that actually go beyond being solopreneurs to really just building something phenomenal. So it started in 2016, but it really started in 2007. It just took me to 2016 to get the actual vision and dream of how to manifest it, how to make it happen.
I love your vision for, yeah, there's just obviously so much there.
Yes.
But
I'm sorry.
no,
Oh my
no, 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 no. You do not need to apologize at all.
God.
But this is one of those topics that I have, I also am extremely passionate about of talking about the importance of investing in women, and
Yes.
creating jobs. And I love one of the things you said, like way back at the beginning, is that like, you realize that investing in women and investing in women-owned businesses is going to have a greater impact in the long term than any protest or any like rant on social media.
Yes.
Like, you're actually doing something. And, I've seen this statistic, and this is something I talk a lot about on this podcast, especially since a lot of the guests that I interview, might be working with artisan groups or groups in developing nations and things like this. And we talk all the time about the importance of providing a woman in a developing nation a job, and how job creation is really the key to eliminating global poverty, not just charity. That charity is fine. That, obviously I don't think charity is bad in any way, shape, or form, but charity
can be crippling.
It can be crippling. It can be harmful when it's not done strategically. It's not done right. And but creating a job is something that creates lasting, sustainable opportunity and impact in communities. And it's not just in developing nations, it's here in the United States as well, because there are so many impoverished areas in our country of people that are both, maybe have immigrated to this country, or native-born Americans who are struggling to make ends meet. They're struggling to feed their families. I mean, right here, I live in Durham, North Carolina, and there are so many families who are at risk for going hungry right here in my own backyard. And so many families that are struggling to pay their rent and, need access to affordable housing and all those kinds of things. But by creating an opportunity for people to be able to walk out a counter narrative than what society is telling them, and what society is telling them, that they're never going to amount to anything, or that maybe there are those people in their lives that are speaking negativity over them. But by providing an opportunity for that person to walk out a counter narrative through the creation of a business or creation of a job, or creating an opportunity for somebody to pursue a dream. Because a lot of times the only thing that might stand between a woman pursuing her dream or not is maybe just resources or, access.
That's it.
Yes. And so that really does create so much change and so much impact. And I love that you've set your goal big and high, and because I believe that when you set those goals for yourself and you set those goals big and high, that nothing can stop you. But you, the only thing between you and that goal is you, and the belief, and the work, and that I know you're gonna put into it. So what, kind of in this next, look, what year is it? Oh my gosh, what year is it? 2019. So in the next 6 years, like, what are some of the steps that you're taking to really make this goal happen?
Well, the first part was the angel fund. So we started with that. We've been investing in the different women-owned companies in different industries, not just technology, but like cannabis, cryptocurrency, things of that nature. And just looking at where we're headed. So I'm looking at artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things. I'm looking at where we're headed, and that's what I want to invest in to help those companies grow from seed stage and beyond. And then the second part would be a platform that I launched at, for Women's History Month. It's called HERstory Connections. And it's like the first platform for all things women-owned in business, creative, and in literary. So, you've got people that are authors, editors, publishers, chefs, dancers, producers, directors, business owners of products and services, the whole gamut, but all women-owned exclusively. And that platform is a way to help not only promote their companies, but to help them have the tools and resources to grow their business, be able to have, webinars, courses, classes, everything that's needed right there within that community to help them grow. For HERstory Connections with the Angel Fund. And then the third part would be like events. We still do events. And so we do events in different parts of the world and just really bringing people together, bringing experts together, to help. Again, it's all about women-owned businesses. Everything is at the bottom line is 3 tiers. And then not to mention my main company, it does business development in different countries. So working with other companies to help them to expand into new international markets and build new revenue. It's like, these different tiers are what's going to help us achieve that goal. And so now it's just like, okay, well, we got the programming in place. We got the tiers in place. Now we got to get the word out. So interviews like this, doing with your show, Molly, and just being able to connect with other, media outlets like yours and just getting the word out of, hey, we're here and we really want to help. And we want to reach, there's 11 million women entrepreneurs here in the U.S. alone. That's just in the U.S., not counting the entire world. So we can touch people. We just have to get it out there.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see how your business continues to grow and the Angel Fund continues to grow. And I cannot wait to see the fruit of the labor that I know you are putting into this and the investment in so many women, both here and abroad, over the next, 6 years. Yeah. I don't know. How long? I don't know. What day is it? What year is it? Half the time, I don't even know. I took my complete off topic, but I took my son to his checkup this morning at the doctor, and she was like, "What's his birth date?" And I was like, I literally had to think about it. I was like, "What year is it? I have no idea." So it's fine. My brain is functioning at a normal level.
That's when you're busy. You're super busy. You're just like, I gave birth. I know. Give me a minute. I know it's gonna come to me.
Yeah, I'm like, he looks like me. I promise he's mine. Can't remember his birthday right now though. Yeah.
I get it.
Oh, goodness gracious. Kisha, this has been absolutely incredible. But before we go, I want to transition just a little bit to my favorite portion of the show. And it's the listener's favorite portion of the show as well. And that is where we transition to the get to know you round and just ask some fun, lighthearted questions.
Awesome.
So, Kisha, with that being said, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
All right. What was your favorite TV show to watch growing up?
Oh my God. Favorite. Oh, just one? There were so many. Oh my God. There was, let's see. Oh my God. Knight Rider. You remember Knight Rider?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I used to love that car. I was like, I want a car like that so badly. I used to love Knight Rider. I loved, A Different World, Cosby Show. I loved Martin.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I watched Martin all the time. Martin.
Yes.
Martin. Yeah. It's a very creative opening song.
Exactly. And then the one other show that I loved, and may he rest in peace, was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach.
My Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Was it champagne wishes, caviar dreams? And I was just like, yes.
Oh, that's good stuff. I love it. Okay. What cheesy song do you have totally memorized?
Oh my God, cheesy song. Oh wait.
We're like,
Baby got back. Yeah. And it started ringing in my head as soon as you said it. Yeah. My anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hon.
You can do side bends or sit-ups, but please don't lose that.
I was like, I'm embarrassed. I know it. And I do.
No, everybody does. And I kind of think about the fact that I think I memorized the words to that song when I was like 12. I'm like, I don't think this is okay that I know the words.
Exactly. That was me too. Like, I'm a kid. I know it word for word. Like, yes.
Oh, that's good stuff. Oh man, that's funny. Okay. Are you reading any books right now? Like, or have you read any this year that have just been really great? I just love to know what kind of is on people's reading list at the time.
Okay, so I tend to read more of like the self-help and business books. Those are like my genres.
Yeah.
And so I've been reading a lot of Jen Sincero's books. She's got, how to be a badass with money. I'm reading her book currently, and then the other book that I'm reading. Let's see here. Try to read one new book a week, and I have the Kindle app on my phone, but it can go to iBooks. Maybe that will let me see it. Come on, now when it loads slowly, that kills me.
Oh, it's fine.
Let's see here. Yeah, so that definitely reading her books, and then like different things like by Neville Goddard and different things about just the mindset, anything that inspires me. The reading books on, how to influence people and then win them over. Just anything that's empowering, inspiring. Like I know it sounds cheesy. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace, and just those type of books, and they've been around forever. Your Word is Your Wand by Florence Scovel Shinn. I love all of her books, and I've read them multiple times, but I always get something new from them when I read it again. The Science of Getting Rich. I meant Wallace. What's his name? Wallace Wattles. The list goes on and on and on. But TNT, It Rocks the Earth by Claude Bristol was written in 1932.
Yeah.
It's a ton of books all around mindset, all around building businesses. Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, just tons of those books that I may have read a million times. I still read them. People recommend books to me. Always business, self-improvement, something that helps me to grow is my preference.
No, I love that. I also tend to go the nonfiction route. I don't read a ton of fiction. I do love some fiction, but in general, I'd say 95% of the books I read are nonfiction. So you are not alone at all.
That was me too. And I will give you two little fun facts. Like as far as fiction books, when I was a kid, my favorite probably fiction series was The Babysitter's Club.
Oh, yeah.
That was me as a kid. And then I loved Little House on the Prairie books by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I loved all of her books.
Yes,
I still read them as adults. I still read them.
Yes. And the show. I totally watched the show too as a kid.
I couldn't get into the show. I tried, but I couldn't. But the books were just like, I know them by heart. And I would imagine myself, in reality, I can never live that life. I'm too much of a city girl for that. But I just love her story.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. Okay. And then this is the last question. And this is a question I've started asking all of my guests. And it's really been fun to hear the different answers from different people's perspectives. And so that question is, what does it mean to you to run a business with purpose?
What does it mean to me to run a business with purpose? That is a very good question. What does it mean to me for purpose? It's the drive. It's what moves me. It's what the purpose of inspiring and empowering women to take control of their lives by owning their business, creating jobs. It moves me. Like it's the beginning goal and the end goal, all in all. And if I did not have that purpose of, why I'm doing this, I don't think that I could have endured all that we didn't even touch on the things that I've encountered. I could not have endured since childhood till now without having that why of like, I want to work with women. I'm called to do that. I have been blessed to do that for years in different capacities, and it's only going to grow from now. So it's the anchoring point, if you will.
Yes, I love that perspective. And I love the anchoring point. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. Kisha, this has just been such a rich conversation. And I'm so grateful for you just sharing a little bit of your story with us. And I am even more grateful for the vision that you have to impact 1 million women, to generate $1 million in revenue by 2025. That is going to change. That's the kind of thing that changes the world.
Yes.
So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I can't wait to see you just blow that goal out of the water.
Thank you so much, Molly, for having me. Just allow me to just talk your ear off. Because I swear I was talking like crazy, but I thank you for that opportunity.
I'd love to know what you loved about this episode or something that you learned. If you do, let me know on social media. You can find me at Still Being Molly or at Business with Purpose Podcast on Instagram or Facebook. And don't forget that hashtag Business with Purpose Podcast. Also, don't forget to check out and shop the Seiko Designs Fall Collection at seikodesigns.com/Molly Stillman. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you're a first-time listener of the show, welcome. Be sure to visit the archives for past shows featuring amazing entrepreneurs and business owners who are literally changing the world with their businesses. And if you're a regular listener of the show, thank you for tuning in week and week out, and thank you for your support. Be sure to head on over to iTunes, Spotify, Radio Public, wherever you listen to podcasts, and click that subscribe button to help make sure you never miss a new episode of the pod. And while you're there, take a moment to leave a review. Leaving a review really just helps me to know what you're liking and how the show is impacting you. The show is edited by my incredible husband and executive producer, John Stillman, with support from Kelly Dalton, and the music is by Mark Killian of Third Wheel Media. Thank you so much for listening, and go do something with purpose on purpose.